Hello, everybody. It's good to see you here. And welcome to what really is a very special event for this laboratory and for me personally. Joining us today is one of the most accomplished scientists in the world, as well as one of the most accomplished science leaders in the world. And she's had an enormous impact on her field and on our community. So my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Fabiola Gianotti, the current Director General of CERN. And let me start and say, CERN is the broadest and most powerful science laboratory in the world for fundamental science. And Fabiola is the first woman to lead CERN and the only director to have served 2 full 5-year terms. That's never been done and probably won't happen again. Okay. I think that's as clear a statement about what she has meant as anything. But I want to talk a bit about her physics first, because after earning her degree at Milan, she began a fellowship at CERN, started her work there, worked on several experiments in experimental particle physics, and every part of it, detector development, software development, data analysis, what we all do. And then the big event was at CERN, Council approved the construction of the Large Hadron Collider in 1994. And that changed the course of science and physics for the field internationally. And it has been the center of physics research on the frontier ever since. And Fabiola worked as part of a small team of people on developing the Atlas detector, in particular on this novel liquid argon electromagnetic detector that had to perform like nothing before it in an environment that was harsher than any that had ever existed. And we were talking a little while ago, at that time, we didn't know that it could be done at the level that was needed, frankly. It was not received wisdom in the community that was going to be, it certainly wasn't going to be easy, and it needed new detectors we didn't have. So she was developed that, led the calorimeter design and coordinated the team of physicists and engineers in charge of optimizing that. And believe me, it has worked fabulously well for all of the physics since. But then, and she went on to be promoted to project leader and spokesperson of the Atlas collaboration. And of course, that was the big, large general purpose detector. It's the one that people at this laboratory took a critical role in getting from the very start until then. She was named a spokesperson, and of course, it was right during the time then that they were looking for the Higgs boson and eventually finding it. So she and my colleague at Santa Barbara, Joanne Candela, had the great thrill on July 4th, 2012, of announcing the discovery of the Higgs boson. Really, for something that our field had been working on for the generation before that. So that was her next accomplishment. And then about 2 years later, they came and elected her as director of CERN. And she took over then and has been in that role for 10 years now. As I said, unprecedented that they, after a 5-year term, they continued her for another 5-year term. They had to change all the rules to do that. And under her tenure, CERN has experienced an exceptionally productive period, not only at the Large Hadron Collider, but we'll talk a little bit on developing a level of outreach that no laboratory in the world has done. She has won the Special Breakthrough Prize in Fundamental Physics, Italian Physical Society's Enrico Fermi Prize, Tate Medal for International Leadership, and lots of other things. But I have to say this one, which you won't hear from anyone else, she's also as a pianist, she has collaborated with Yo-Yo Ma, and on YouTube, you can find her playing the piano with that. So now, I don't know any other lab director that can say that. So please join me in welcoming Fabiola. So it's a thrill to have a chance to talk to you, Fabiola, but let me say, personally, we were talking about this today. I first met you when I was Fermi Lab Director, and we wanted to bring in someone from the European community to be on our Physics Advisory Council. Didn't time the LSU was going to be a big thing. I asked the people at the laboratory, who should I get from CERN? And everybody said Fabiola. So that's how I first knew her. But I must say, when I came to be director of Fermilab, I had not been ever worked at a lab or been line management until one day I became the director and figured out how to be the director. Well, we share something like that, although they give you about a year to go. So I'd be interested to know, what was it like to go from being a working scientist to being director of the largest physics laboratory in the world at that time?
Thanks so much for the nice introduction, Mike. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Well, it was when I was appointed, when I learned from the council that I'd been selected, because I was hoping that I will not be selected.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Well, I would say we all start there.
Yes, exactly. I have to give you a little bit of the context. So in March 2013, my term of office as ATA spokesperson ended. And so for about a year, I found myself in the ideal situation of doing the work of a postdoc. So I was back to research, and we had just discovered the Higgs boson. So we had this very special particle that we needed to characterize and understand. And so with a group of young scientists and postdoc, I remember, I don't know if Heather Gray is here, but I've been working with Heather Gray for almost a year. We were working on measuring the couplings of the Higgs boson with the other particles. So it was a fantastic year. No responsibility whatsoever. And then in mid-2014, they came to solicit me to go to the interview with the search committee. So the CERN Director-General is elected in two steps. There is a search committee first, mainly made by scientists, and they test your scientific vision, your CV, etc. And then, so they start from a long list of 100 people, then they interview typically 10 people, and then they produce a short list of 3 names. And those 3 names then go to the council for the more political, strategic, whatever interview. Okay. So I was called to the first step interview, and I said, no. I don't want to do an administrative job, an administration. I'm very happy with my physics work, so I don't want to do it. But then, of course, there is pressure from the community. Some of my predecessors were trying to persuade me to go. So I went to the interview, hoping to interview well, but for other reasons, politics, gender, whatever, that I will not be selected. And then after the interview, after a couple of months, I found myself in the short list. But still, I had some hope. 3 names, so we had 30% chances that. And so I go to the interview with the council. In any case, I will interview very badly with the council because I know nothing about politics or these things. And then when the day of the election, the council meeting started at 9, and 9:30 people from the council text me that I'd been selected. Total panic. Total panic. I felt I was not up to the job. And then why the hell I decided to run for this thing? I should not have done it. I'm not able to do it. And I like physics so much. Why should I become a manager? Anyway, okay, so I had a few days of anguish and panic. But then, of course, you start to prepare yourself. I must say that I was already had been prepared a bit by being spokesperson of Atlas, because this is a managerial role. So I had learned a lot from that, and this was an absolutely crucial step. And then the good thing for CERN directors is that they are appointed a year before they start their term. And so I had a year first of all, in that year, usually what you do is to decide how you to organize CERN in the coming 5 years, how many directors you want to have, what are your priorities. So I had the time to do that, but nevertheless, it was quite an important step. But I must say, I'm a believer in teamwork. And so I had excellent directors, excellent colleagues. And you know what? What I discovered, and I think it's true also here at LBL, I'm sure, I was coming from the particle physics community, from the experiments community. So I know very well how the experiment works. I knew how the accelerator worked, because the link between the accelerator and the experiment is very strong. So I was used to the excellence of the scientists, of the engineers, of the technicians. And then moving to Director General, I discovered that at CERN, also the administration, legal service, human resources, finance, procurement, they are all top level people. The excellence of the people makes the difference. And so this was a great discovery, great surprise, and everybody helped me a lot. And so at the end, it was okay.
No, good. Yeah, no, I mean, this thing where you said, well, I might as well talk to them. I'm never going to get the job. I've gone through that a couple of times myself. So let me talk a little bit.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Can I tell you about an episode?
Yeah.
The first, just to see how you change your mind. So the first day I take possession of my office, which is on the 5th floor of the main building at CERN. So what I do, the first thing I do is to go down to the 4th floor, 3rd, 2nd, 1, etc., to see who is there. Yeah. So I go down to 4th floor, and I see 4th floor is the legal service. So I said, why the hell don't they put more useful people on the 4th floor? Engineers, physicists. 2 weeks later, I knew why the legal service was on the 4th floor.
Absolutely. So we'll go from that to actually to talk a little bit, to go back in time to your role at the beginning of Atlas and say, if I think about this, it was a pretty interesting time at the beginning there. You had the biggest scientific question of how to find the Higgs that we've had for 20 years. And you were part of that small group who said, okay, how the heck are we going to actually build this thing? I mean, if they build the accelerator, how can we build something that'll work? It must have been a really exciting time as a physicist. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how that
was a beautiful time. This was beginning of the 90s, the 90s, say, until the mid of the 90s. So that was the time where DLHC had not yet been approved. But we have the idea and ambitions of building this almost impossible collider. And so there were people working, of course, on the accelerator, developing the magnets, and on the experimental side, of course, we had to develop detectors able to cope with the high luminosity, with an unprecedented environment, radiation level, speed, excellent performance, of course, in all possible facets, from resolution, space resolution, energy resolution, particle ID, everything. And of course, not all the technologies were available. I come from a group in Milan working in calorimetry, so calorimetry was my field in terms of detector development. And my group in Milan at the time was not yet at CERN, like a CERN staff, decided to join an R&D activity called RD3. It was an R&D group that was developing a fast liquid argon calorimeter for LHC. Liquid argon technology is a slow technology. It's very good. It's very robust. It's very adaptable also to the needs and to the goals of the LHC, with only one problem. It's slow. Signal collection time, microseconds. And we need to have a fast response, nanosecond. And so a very clever physicist in Orsay, Daniel Fournier, invented a new geometry, an accordion geometry for this calorimeter, but he didn't know if it would work. So he was asking for a couple of young people to come to CERN and work with him and to develop this technology. And for some reason, they picked me up. So I went to CERN to work with Daniel Fournier on this calorimeter. We were a very small group of people, 5 people, Daniel, myself, a couple of engineers, a technician. And in 2 years, between 1990 and 1992, we developed this technology, and we built and tested 18 different prototypes, tested with beams. It was a fantastic time because, you have to be inventive, you have to have new ideas, and you don't know at the end, because at the time we didn't know if at the end this will work. So it's, pure exploration, technological exploration. At the end, it worked, and the technology was chosen for the Atlas EM calorimeter. There were other competitive technologies, but it was a great time.
So then coming back to your present job, one of the things that all of us have to do is justify to governments why they should invest in basic research of the kind we do. And that's, as we talked about today, it's harder than it used to be to get governments to. They're more likely to say, how many jobs are you creating? What's the economic impact? So even though we have these, of course, famous stories about the transistor and impact they had, so how do you talk to governments about that? How do you convince them that this is what they should?
Okay, so first of all, I think what you say is absolutely true, Mike. more than ever now, we are asked to justify what we do beyond the knowledge that we produce in terms of physics. Nevertheless, I would like to say that in particular, the public is fascinated by what we are doing in physics. The big question that we are addressing, like, where we come from and where we are going, because when we study the universe and its evolution, is pretty much related to this fundamental question that human beings ask themselves almost every day. So the public is fascinated by the physics we do. And of course, then they are very happy when they see that the instruments we build are extremely useful, also have an impact on society. For governments, what counts, at least in my experience, industrial return. So how many money how many supplies or goods you purchase in a given country. Human resources return, how many people of their nationality, of their country work at CERN, and of course, impact on society in general. So we have been, over the past years, we've been boosting our knowledge transfer team, try to, to be more creative and to make also a little bit the step between the technological level, the technology we develop for our own purposes, and the next step, the next development that is needed in order to make it usable by society. So we have been investing a lot on this. And of course, outreach, communication to the general public, that's super important.
Yeah. So people here may not know, CERN has a unique role in the world of national laboratories, but it has an interesting history. As really, it came about in 1959 as a model of international collaboration in Europe. And that's really had an important effect on the history and its developed. So you might talk a little bit about that, because I think people might not know that.
That period was the period also the Cold War, and CERN played a special role. So CERN was founded in 1954 on the initiative of and the push of a group of visionary scientists and politicians. I like to remind that Isidore Rabi, who's a US physicist, actually was one of the founding fathers of CERN, with two goals. One was to reestablish scientific excellence in Europe after the war and counteract the brain drain. So Fermi, Segre, all these people left the continent, came to the US or went to Russia, like Pontecorvo. And also, so first thing, reestablish scientific excellence in Europe, and also promote peaceful collaboration between the people and the countries of Europe through science. So it was a very modern vision, because those founders understood that the socioeconomic recovery of Europe also requires sustained investment in fundamental research. And the other important thing is that science is a glue that can connect people in a fractured world. So 12 member states signed the founding convention. Today we have 25 member states, 9 associate member states from all over the world, observers, etc. But at that time, CERN really played an important role. So many countries joined CERN as the first step before joining the European Union.
Yeah.
And so that's
sort of a gateway to the European Union. And of course, it was founded before the European Union.
Absolutely.
It was
absolutely.
one of, and you might say you recently had a 70th anniversary event at CERN. You might say something about who came to that.
Oh, so it was great. It was on 1st October 2024. We had 8 heads of states and governments from, so the Italian president came, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen came, but also many important people from across all fields of society. So Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Investment Bank and former head of the International Monetary Fund, was there. Eric Schmidt came, Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, came. So it was really fantastic celebration of CERN and its accomplishment.
Now, of course, CERN is a great physics laboratory, but it also, especially with you in charge, has been a leader in outreach to the community. And that's something that's really stepped up in the time you've been there. So you might tell us how you're able to do that, get that done.
So it's extremely important to communicate what we do to the general public. We do so, we have been doing so for years. I see here Michael Barnett here. So it's something that we have been doing now for many, many years, but we have to do more and more. for various reasons. First of all, for our field, selfishly, because of course we have to survive, we have to build bigger and bigger projects, and we need the support of the public. But also because we can play a social role. Today we see a decline in trust in politics, trust in institutions, decline in trust in science, etc. And we have to increase the trust in science in today's society, because in no way can we hope to address today's global challenges, from health to climate change to the environment, without the support of science and technology. So we are experiencing a problem of workforce in Europe. I don't know if it's the same in the US. We need more and more people educated in STEM. But actually, if you look at the fraction of students that after high school decide to study scientific, they go to science at the level of university, it's only 20%. So we are not preparing tomorrow's workforce. So we need to attract talents and to inspire the young people to undertake scientific studies. So one thing that I learned and really shocked me when I started this job back in 2016 is that CERN, we were receiving every year typically 300,000 requests for visits, and we were only able to host 150,000 visitors, so 50% of the request. And that for me was a shame. And so that was the original idea for creating the CERN Science Gateway, which is our new flagship center for public communication and outreach. Is a building complex with 2 tubes, 3 pavilions, a big auditorium, 900-seater auditorium, which brings under the same roof immersive exhibition, laboratories for kids from 5 years up, which have hosted now 53,000 kids that have been doing their experiments with their own hands. We have a science show. We have higher level events. You mentioned Yo-Yo Ma. He came for a nice evening to discuss the links between music and physics. We had an evening with Al Gore. He came to talk about, societal challenges, climate change, and how science can help. So, and we increased the number of visitors to CERN from 150,000 a year previously to 390,000. So it's a big. Of course, at CERN, all visits are for free. You don't pay anything. You don't need to book. You just go to CERN. You take the tram from the station, and the tram really stops under the Science Gateway, and you just go and visit. So it's really very successful.
Yeah, okay. So speaking of Ed, so I mentioned you had this wonderful event with Yo-Yo Ma, and I recommend it to you on YouTube. You can find it.
No, please.
How did you get time for that level of musicianship? How do you get time to practice? I don't understand this.
Zero. So when Yo-Yo came and said, "Okay, we should play together," I said, "No, of course not. I have no time." But then, of course, he had promised. Actually, he had decided to come to CERN. This was in December 2023 for this dialogue. We were supposed to to talk about the links between music and physics, which are very strong. And so the idea for me was that we will talk and then he will play. But then he told me, "I only come if you play together." And so then I was forced to practice. So midnight to AM. So unfortunately, I don't have the time to practice regularly. And of course, music like sport, if you don't practice regularly, you can't just play half an hour every 2 weeks. It's better to play, 10 minutes every day than. But okay, it was good because under the push of Yo-Yo, I managed to get back to the piano. Of course, I have a piano degree, so I had studied piano so much when I was a kid that, of course, there was still some remnant in my brain and my hands, and so I could avoid total failure.
Yeah, so
I got close to it, but
so well, listen to it. It's pretty good. So you did have, as you said, you had a music degree. You had many things that you could have studied. What led you to end up doing science?
It's a good question, because at high school I studied humanities. So this is what is called Liceo Classico in Italy. It's everything except physics and maths.
I have a lot of friends who took that course. Yeah.
Latin, ancient Greek, philosophy, art, history of art, literature, everything. So we had 2 hours of math and 1 hour of physics a week, something like that. And in parallel, I was studying music at the conservatory. But, you know, I was a very curious child, and I sort of had an intuition that physics, the little physics I knew at school, I learned at school, would allow me to, how to say, to contributing maybe to answering those questions, or even providing the question that I could not, at the time the web had not been invented yet, because CERN will invent it later on. And so I could not, you know, Google and find ChatGPT did not exist. So, you know, it was really frustrating. So I could not find answer to my question. And so I thought maybe physics will help me. And this is what happened.
And one thing led to another. Yeah. So actually, in your career, one thing, and we get asked for some questions from the people coming, and one of them asked, can you share about a friend or mentor you've had who helped you to learn more about yourself as you advance in your career, and what you learned from them? So how
mentors?
Yeah.
Many mentors, real mentors, or also virtual in the sense. So Enrico Fermi, I read a lot about Enrico Fermi. He was a virtual mentor. Of course, I didn't have the opportunity to meet him. So I read a lot about him, and I was very much inspired. I was very much inspired by a biography of Marie Curie. Actually, was something that struck me when I was 17 years old, and pulled me into physics. And then, of course, all along my life, professional life, I had the chance to work with many great scientists. I can mention a few of them, but you know, I will not make justice to all of them. Pierre Dariulla, Luigi Di Lella, anyway, too, Peter Ieni in Athens, but also many of you and colleagues. I see Kevin here, and Sandra, and many others here, with whom I've been working for decades together, and all of them contributed to what I am today.
Yeah. I talk a little bit about it's sort of in the Italian system for physics. I would say I had a friend and colleague long ago, early in my career, who was a mentor to me. It was Rosanna Cestereggi.
Yes, in Torino.
You know,
yeah.
and she was there, and a wonderful colleague, and learned a lot from her. At the same time, at that time, she didn't get a faculty position in the Italian system till she was in her late 50s, I think.
Didn't change.
Well, I was going to ask you how that's changed.
So what is very good in Italy is that the school is really top level.
Yeah.
At all levels, from primary school, secondary school, and university. Not only in our university is top level in physics, because we have a huge tradition in particle physics in particular, but also in medicine. You know, there are excellent doctors that are, you know, trained in Italy. The problem of Italy is that there are not many permanent positions. So that's why there are many Italians abroad. First of all, because they are good, but also because they don't find a job at home. So the situation has improved now with NFN becoming stronger and stronger. Also the university, there have been many more openings, but it's not yet at the level that it should be. So anyway, let's hope
Okay.
it improves.
Very good. Then see, another thing that you've pioneered at CERN, it's been connected with the outreach, but also the ability to raise money from private sources, from philanthropy, which was not in CERN's tradition when you came. So you might tell us how that came to be.
So the first fundraising need that I had was exactly to build the Science Gateway, this new center for the communication outreach, which was initially the cost that we had developed at the beginning was around 75 million Swiss francs, then became 100 million Swiss francs, so about $120 million. And it was clear that I could not take that money from the CERN budget, which is mainly for science. We have a little bit of money for communication outreach, typically a couple of million a year, but 100 million was completely different scale. So I remember I was telling this at lunch that I really wanted that project. I believe that this would be very good for CERN and for society. And by the way, one of the things that you can do when you are in this position, and I like my position, is that if you want to do something, and this something is reasonable, of course, you do have the power of doing things. Okay, so I wanted to build this thing. And of course, I could not use the CERN budget. And of course, everything you do at CERN of a certain scale, it must be approved and supported by the council. So the council is the governing body. I am the CEO, and I have to report to the governing body, which brings together the representative of the member states. So I went in front of the council and presented the project, and they say, good, very nice, but you don't have the money. And they said, I will find the money. And I walk out of the room and they said, you are crazy. I was not able before to find any single, cents. So how the hell I'm going to find 100 million? But, when, so when the project is a good one, people resonate with it. And so I started with some local foundation, and money attracts money. And so it's a snowball effect. So you find, I remember the first thing that the first money we get was from the Loterie Romande, an institution in Geneva that usually gives funds project for 2 million a year, many projects with these 2 millions. And when we applied for money, they gave us 2 million. So they spent all the money they had for us. And so that was the sign the project was good and that they like it. And then from that, other foundations in Geneva gave us money. Then I had money also from a very strong Italian entrepreneur. And so at the end, we managed to build the Science Gateway. Then the first donation we had for a scientific project, because the Science Gateway is not a scientific project, is a donation of $48 million over 5 years from the Eric and Wendy Schmidt Fund for Strategic Investment. So Eric came to CERN. He likes CERN very much. He came also for our anniversary, and he knows very well what we do. And he was very much intrigued by the triggers. So, the triggers are the online event selection at the high luminosity LHC. So Atlas and CMS event selection, online event selection at high luminosity, which is of course even more challenging than the triggers we have today. And so he gave us this 48 million to apply artificial intelligence to the online algorithms. And now we are fundraising for the Future Circular Collider. We are doing pretty well, but we are not yet at the end of the campaign.
Yeah, so that gives you some amount of, they'd never done that sort of fundraising at CERN, and look what she's done over time. So you have some idea why they asked her to stay on another 5 years. So maybe it's been great to have you here, and I want you to know Fabiola's had a long day. She's had things all day. So I'm going to actually sort of go toward a wind-up question. I know there's a complicated question since, well, what's next for you?
Oh, I'm surprised by this question. Nobody asked me.
No one's ever asked that before.
No. So for sure, I will go back to research. I don't know exactly what, if I go back to Atlas or Future Collider. So this is something that I'm missing, and I would like to do at least part of my time. I've been solicited also for other fields, outside particle physics. As I was telling you before, Mike, at the moment, I will serve CERN until the end of my term of office, which is 31st December 2025. And if I had to spend time now in thinking what I'm going to do next, I will not be serving CERN the best possible way. So it will be a step function, 31st of December, nothing to do on the 1st of January, which is also a nice situation to be, because the last 10 years have been super, super busy. But I want to have a little bit of time in the new year to think in a quiet way, and after some cool off, what I'm going to do, I want to do next. But for sure, there will be a research at CERN.
Well, and I'm sure you will have lots of opportunities, believe me.
We'll see.
Okay, so I think I'm going to actually close it now and say, because but I want to say, take a minute to say what an important role you've had in the worldwide physics community, and the high energy physics community, and the nuclear physics community. But it's more than that. CERN is really the most visible laboratory we have in fundamental science in the world, and that you've been come in, done such a great job, and shown what new things could be done if tying it to society is something that benefits all of us.
Thanks, Mike. But our work at all levels, from research to technological development, management, is really based on teamwork. We work together, and I could do this job over the past 10 years because I had the support of the community and many, many good people working with me. And so it's really their success.
Yeah. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you
you.
and congratulate you for your wonderful tenure at CERN.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
okay, and thank you. This was really wonderful to see all of you here today, and it really reminds us of why we do science. So anyway, thank you too. Thank you.